Hello fellow makeup lovers, how are you guys doing today? We are going to be testing out the new Gemini 2 palette from Melt Cosmetics. I said I wasn't going to buy this. In fact, I kind of was a little bit shady about it. I was like, the color story is nothing super special, yada yada. But when push came to shove and I saw that Melt Cosmetics came out with a bundle of the Gemini, the original kind of remastered, and the Gemini 2 palette for $100, and then they had a promo code on top of that to save another 20% off, and basically these palettes that are normally $58 each became $40 each. I just could not resist it. I had free shipping. It was just everything aligned, and I'm actually really happy just looking in person. I think the packaging and everything looks stunning. So I do have the Gemini palette here, which looks so pretty. I love the new packaging that they did with this one, and then the inside is stunning. It's kind of funny because I looked at it and I was like, oh my gosh, like I missed this color story. It's just beautiful. So I'm definitely going to do some future videos focusing on this one and just, you know, trying out the eyeshadows again because I used to own this palette. Unfortunately, it grew mold. Melt did refund me. Everything is good, but I have not played with it in a really long time, so we can go ahead and try this in comparison with all the other grungy greens that have come out. But today we are going to be focusing mainly on the Gemini 2 palette and just answering the question, is it as iconic as the original one? On first impression, I mean, like I said, packaging, so beautiful, but the color story, I don't know that it is as unique. Just looking at the palette, you've kind of got a mixture of like lots of like rosy kind of pinky shades, and then you've got some grungy kind of mossy greens at the end. So it's kind of reminding me of the Give Me Glow Vintage Rose palette, I think is what it's called, which is a green and pink color story. And it also kind of reminds me of the Lowest Cosmetics Meet Me in the Underworld eyeshadow palette, just on first look. So we'll see. We're gonna go ahead and do some swatches, do an eye look. I'll kind of give you guys my thoughts so far, and hopefully we'll have a good time. If you are new to my channel, I'm so happy to have you here. I do know a ton of content around independently owned makeup brands. Melt has become a little bit more mainstream, but they are independently owned. They were started as like a super small company by two women. So I think it's amazing how much they've grown, but this is the kind of content I'm about. So if that sounds good to you, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Now let's jump on in. Okay, so the very first shade we have looks like a really soft peachy matte, and it is called Belle. It's super pretty. Little bit more like peachy than I was expecting actually. And then next we have the shade Ladylike, which looks to be another matte, and that one is just a little bit darker, but it's another kind of soft peach. Then we have Sweetheart, another matte. Honestly, shout out to Melt because there's so many mattes in this palette. I'm kind of shook. I didn't even realize that till just now. But that one is kind of like a mid-tone rosy shade, super pretty. And I feel like they feel pretty smooth. Yeah, I mean, those two peaches are a little too similar for my own liking. The first one is like a little bit more pinky peach. This one's more true peach. Next we have AMYLOVES, which means twins. So that's like a little bit of a darker, again, kind of rosy brown, super pretty. We've got Lovesick, which is a beautiful red shadow. I'm curious if that's the exact same shade as like from the Lovesick stack, because that just looks so nice. And then we have our first shimmer, which is called Shamud. And this one, it kind of just looks like a dark kind of satiny, like grungy, deep copper. I'm not even sure how to describe it exactly. I mean, it's definitely an interesting shade. All right, so there's what that one looks like. So I feel like this palette is definitely for the matte lovers because I didn't realize there's only two shimmers in here. And I feel like with like a deep copper and a kind of smoky green, I don't know that any of those are shimmers that I'd want to go with, like the majority of this palette. So I could definitely see myself pulling into other things for this. Next we have LX Queen, which is like a really deep eggplant purple. We have Matteo. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it just looks like a deep kind of green smoky shade. We've got Boy Mom, which I love the name of that because I am a boy mom. But that looks like such a grungy brown. And then lastly, we have the shade Almond Eyes, which I think is the shade I'm most excited about. It's just a super grungy matte green. All right, oh yeah, that's definitely my favorite shade in the palette. So there it is. I think it's cute. I'm kind of torn on how I feel because I really wish that one of these peaches had been like a lighter shade to go along with this and to make the palette just a little bit more like versatile, because I'm already feeling like I want to reach for another palette to kind of complete the look. But I mean, I do think it's cute. This green has a really pretty sparkle to it, so we're gonna try and see what kind of look we can come up with. I do feel like, just looking at the original Gemini, that the shade Gemini and the shade Goals, both of those shimmers would pair really nicely with the shimmers that are in this palette. So, I mean, that is something to keep in mind. You could definitely use them together. I already went ahead and primed my eyes with the Anastasia Beverly Hills Eye Primer, and then I think I'm gonna start off with the transition shade right here, Ladylike. All right, so I'm just picking up a little bit of that, and I'm gonna go ahead and throw it through my crease. I mean, actually, I feel like that looks a little bit deeper immediately than it did on my arm swatched out. It looks a little bit more pigmented. Just gonna go ahead and kind of lay it down, and then I'll start blending up from there. Part of me did want to just go all green, but I'm like, let me figure out a way to kind of get the essence of the palette figured out, shown really well in just one look. I feel like that's blending nicely. Okay, now I'm gonna go into the shade Gemelas. I think I'm gonna focus that in the crease most. Oh goodness. Okay, that was a little bit more pigmented than I was expecting. Okay, I could have gone in with less, but just gonna go ahead and start buffing that out, blending it into the peach. So, I mean, that's building up pretty fast. I thought those two shades together were gonna be a little bit softer, but they're not. And that's okay, because we're gonna make it work. Just going in with my previous brush and just kind of blending everything out. I think now I'm gonna go into the shade Lovesick. I just can't help it. It looks so pretty. And I think I'm actually gonna turn this into a halo eye just to do something a little bit different. So starting off with Lovesick on the outer V, just on a precise little brush. And then I'm also gonna go ahead and pop that on the inner corner and then kind of blend it into the crease a little bit. I feel like that's actually blending really nicely. Feels really smooth and everything for such a pigmented deep red. I mean, honestly, I feel like Melt does do reds really well, so I'm not surprised. And then I'm just gonna go in with my previous brush and just kind of lightly blend over that. I'm getting just a tiny little bit of fallout. I don't know if you saw, just a few speckles, but nothing bad. I honestly haven't even been tapping off my brush. Okay, so to finish off the crease, I think I'm also gonna go into the shade LX Queen on a little pencil brush as our deepest shade. And again, just packing that first on the outer V. And then just a little bit on the innermost part of the inner corner crease area right there. I feel like overall, I'm getting a lot more grungy redness out of these tones than I expected. There's the halo eye so far. I was thinking, because there's so many mattes, that I might go ahead and do a matte on the center, which is not something I would normally do with a halo eye, but I think it's kind of fun. So I'm gonna take the shade Bella now. So just picking up a little bit of that and tapping it right on the center. And then I'm just gonna kind of circle out from there so we can kind of start to blend it into what's around it, and then go back into some more Bella right in the center and just have that be the most pigmented. Okay, so I kind of want to follow the theme of doing like that little halo moment on the lower lash line, except I want the lower lash line to focus on the greens. So I'm going to start off with a like little eyeliner brush and go into the deepest shade, which is going to be Boy Mom or Boy Mum. So I'm going to put that right on the outermost part and then also on the innermost part. You can see it is super pigmented. I'm actually going to go with the brush that I use as my flat shader brush, just going to kind of wipe it off so majority of the product is gone, and just lightly buff that out so it's not such a harsh line. Now I'm going to go into the shade Mateo, and I'm just going to pop that kind of a little bit over, but leaving some room in the center. Now lastly, going into Almond Eyes, and just popping that right here. I mean, so pretty. Lastly, I feel like I have a lot of darkness on the inner corner, which is fine, but I want to go ahead and add just a little highlight. So I'm actually going to grab the new Bridgerton II palette, the Belle the Ball palette, I think is what this one's called. Yes, it is. And I'm just going to take the lightest kind of satiny pink right here, and I'm just popping that on the inner corner. I just need a little something something here. Also, that is the look. Like I said, definitely a little bit more grungy than I originally pictured, but I actually really like it. So before I finish up my mascara and stuff, I thought we could just go ahead and use the palette for blush, because I feel like either of these two peaches would be super, super pretty to go along with this look. I think I'm going to take Bella just because it's maybe just a little bit brighter. Whew, look how much it picked up. Definitely going to tap off the excess. Then we can just go ahead and throw that on. Ooh, that is a bright peach. I'm also going to use the shade I used for my inner corner as my face highlighter today. I actually love that shade as blush. I'm going to go ahead and really quickly off camera, actually, you know what I can use today? I have the Melt Supernatural Mascara. Just going to throw that on and I'll be right back. So let's do lips together really quick to finish up. I'm going to use the shade Narcissus from Ritual de Fille. It's just a really pretty kind of grungy brown lipstick shade. I feel like that shade looks almost like grungy but still peachy at the same time, and I actually think it like goes along perfectly. And honestly, I feel like I actually really like this palette. I do feel like I could nitpick at a few things, but overall I actually do really like it, and I feel like for me this is going to be a companion palette, but the performance, the blendability, the pigmentation was all really great, and I think the color story is very cute, and I could just see using this a lot with the original Gemini, and then also using this with other things. For one, I was thinking the Oden's Eye Gila palette. I don't know if you guys are seeing what I'm seeing, but I thought that these two would actually be so cute and complementary together, like actually like a dream duo. So even though I do feel like these two peachy shades are similar and I wish there was a lighter shimmer, I feel like those are just very, very small gripes, and I'm happy to have it. I think the packaging is just beautiful. I'm inspired to use it, so I would say this has been a good first impression, and I'm happy that I was able to pick up both of the palettes for $40 each, because I definitely think they're worth that. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!